Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl, Sean LeRae, and y'all know what time it is. It is time for Boss Talk. That's bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars, and that's each and every one of you. So, here we go.
Boss Talk. It's time for Boss Talk.
Oh, one of a kind.
Boss Talk. It's Sean LeRae. Boss Talk. It's Sean LeRae. Boss Talk. It's time for Boss Talk.
Oh, one of a kind.
Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. It's time. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Sensational superstar.
Oh, one of a kind.
Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Sensational superstar.
Oh, one of a kind.
Boss Talk. Boss Talk. Boss Talk. Sensational superstar. Boss Talk. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Sensational superstar.
Oh, one of a kind.
Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Boss Talk with Sean LeRae. Sensational superstar.
Oh, one of a kind.
Boss Talk.
I think it's playing over and over again, y'all. So we're just going to stop that right now because by now, I'm sure you know where you are. And you are on with me, Sean LeRae, for Boss Talk. And again, that's bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars. And that's each and every one of you. So welcome back. Welcome, welcome. Go ahead and put in the chat where you're joining us from. Let me know who's out there. So go ahead and tell me. Tell me who you are and where you're coming in from. And also take a moment right now and send this link out to someone that you know would just love to be tuned in tonight as we talk about therapists in training and why the healing profession might just need you. So I'm really, really excited to be here tonight and to talk about this particular topic because it's one, of course, that is near and dear to my heart. I became a therapist later in life after doing at least 150,000 other things in my life. And then I decided to go back to school, get a master's degree, and become a therapist. And it is a decision that I am happy that I made more and more each day. It's like the profession that keeps on giving because you are dealing with people in their lives and you get to see a little bit of everything all the time, every day. So y'all know this is Wellness Wednesday and I've had quite a day. So I know that I could take a few deep breaths. So let's do that together. We're going to do the box breathing today. So that's 4 in, hold for 4, and then exhale for 4. And we're going to do that 3 times. And on that third time, when you get to that last exhale, let me hear you give it some sound. So let's do that together, breathing into the count of 4. Ready and in. And let's breathe in again to the count of 4. And this last time on that exhale, give it some sound and let go of everything that does not serve you that happened today or any day before Wednesday, because y'all know this is hump day. And so this is your opportunity to get it right for the end of the week, because here at Boss Talk, we are living for the weekend. So let's breathe in the last time for 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Ooh. Yes. So now go ahead and put in the chat where you're tuning in from. We want to hear from you tonight because I have some amazing folks on here that I want you to get to know. Oh, so Garth is on here. Hello, Garth. What's up? How you doing? Garth, where are you coming from? And is this your first time? Are you a first time boss talker? Go ahead and put that in the chat for me. And I just want to say that we are getting close to the end of March, and this is International Women's Day, or Women's Month, rather. And so I also want to pay homage to all of the amazing women in all of our lives who have shaped us, have given us advice, have moved us when we didn't feel like moving, and encouraged us when we were down, and been that wind beneath our wings. And so you can go ahead and put in the chat, who's a woman that comes to mind for you when I say all those things that you want to send honor to, pay homage to. They could be ancestors. They could be here with us right now. They could be a friend. I would shout out Chantel Denise, Gwendolyn Goodman, Crystal Larte. So many beautiful women who have sown into me and poured into me and helped me every day become a better version of myself. And so we always have to just say those names out loud so that the ancestors can hear us and know that we are paying tribute and giving honor where it belongs. So go ahead and put in the chat someone that comes to mind in that effort for you. Well, welcome. It's Gareth. I said that wrong. Gareth, welcome. And thank you for tuning in. And you're on YouTube. So when you get a chance, Gareth, go ahead and hit that little button that says subscribe, and then click the little bell so that you'll get a notification every time that we go live. And it's every Wednesday, just so you know, at 6 o'clock PST, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 o'clock Central Time, and 9 o'clock on that East Coast. So from Ventura. I got married in Ventura County, in Oxnard. I will be going there tomorrow to do a training for the city of Ventura. So nice to have you. Thank you for tuning in. So I'm going to talk about my guests tonight. So I'm really excited to bring on tonight some of the trainees that I get to work with in my nonprofit. So what is a trainee? A trainee is someone who is still in school, getting hours toward graduation so that they can get their registration to become an associate. I work with both MSW students and MFT students, and I have one of each on here for you tonight. And we do want to shout out the one who couldn't make it tonight, Rory. Hope you're feeling better. We're sending you lots of love and healing. Yes, because therapists have to take care of themselves as well, y'all. So, anybody out in the chat want to say whether or not you've been to therapy? Who's done some therapy in your life? Because it's really important. And I think I got into this business to help kill the stigma that surrounds going to therapy for all people, but in particular for communities of color, because there are certain reasons that people of color have not entered into going into have therapy. There's lack of trust. There's feeling that people are going to judge you, that people won't get it. And so I am so excited to be able to do what I do. So I'm going to bring on the two lovely young ladies who are joining me tonight. So give me a second to have a sip. And I must show off my cup here. Y'all see it? And this came from my husband. Isn't that beautiful? I just love him. He gives the best gifts and he thinks of me. So this is because I do not drink enough water. But I am now. Believe me, I am. So first I'm going to bring out Jennifer Levesque. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about Jennifer. She is an MFT trainee and intern, and she is pursuing her Master's of Science in Marriage Family Therapy at Capella University. Now, she's a former teacher, and she's had the privilege of working with students from diverse cultural, religious, and socioeconomic backgrounds. She always sought to inspire curiosity and create an open, safe, and supportive environment where every student felt welcomed and appreciated for their uniqueness. Witnessing the challenges faced by many of her students and observing the trauma and mental health struggles within her community ignited a passion in Jennifer, and it caused her to return to work with, it caused a passion in her to work with broader population, and that led her to returning to school to pursue her career in the helping profession and proving that it's never too late. So, boss talkers, without another word from me, please welcome to the stage Miss Jennifer Levesque.
Hello.
She's coming.
Hello, everybody.
There she is. There she is.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hello, Jennifer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you on tonight.
Oh, I'm excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. So I love that when I sent out a message to all of the interns and I said, who's available to do my show? And immediately Jennifer and this next young woman said, I am, sounds great. And I love that. I can count on these two for sure to say, okay, and move into whatever it is I ask them to do. So that always makes me happy. So let me see. I'm having some problems. Full transparency, y'all. This is not my regular computer, and it just does not like me at all. Y'all know I'm an Apple girl, and this is a PC we're on today. So here we go. I'm going to bring on Miss Keitha Colson. So she's a therapist intern, also pursuing a master's, but a master's in social work at Liberty University. She's always had the passion to work with children, individuals, and families, and has done so in various capacities for over 27 years. She's worked in group homes, facilities, juvenile hall, psychiatric hospital, and a nonprofit school. The population that she has served were severely emotionally disturbed adolescents from the ages of 6 to 18 years old and adults that also had behavioral issues. I know some adults with behavioral issues. Now, in her current role as a social worker for Los Angeles County, Keith is responsible for removing children out of unsafe environments, connecting them to mental health services to address the trauma that they've witnessed or experienced. She also provides the parents resources to get the services that they need to stabilize and get back on track in order to successfully reunify with their children. And in this role, she's had the privilege of working with children and families from diverse backgrounds. So, Boss Talkers, without another word from me, please welcome to Boss Talk, Keitha Colson. Keitha, you coming? There she is. Uh-oh. I know she's there. I can see her on the other side. What happened? There she is. She's a coming. Oh my. You know, technology is amazing except when it's not. I don't know what's happening. Well, my producer will get you in, Keitha. Don't worry. So, Jennifer, I'm going to start with you. Tell me, I know that you said you were teaching prior to this,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so did you have a degree, a bachelor's in child education or something of that sort?
Yeah, so I had a bachelor's in psychology and child
Ah,
development. And then ironically, I was going to Pepperdine to become a marriage and family therapist when I had my first child. And I made the decision to stay at home, always intending to go back, and then took the circuitous route of becoming a teacher. So,
aha.
which ultimately led me right back where I originally intended to be.
Well, I love that because, I think there are no mistakes. And so
Yeah,
whatever it was that started that spark in you had to come full circle. And
you know
so,
what? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, and so here you are.
Yeah, I agree 100% because it was the pandemic and working with adolescents because I taught middle school and really becoming an emotional support and helping their mental health as they were struggling, as was I struggling with it, that cemented the desire to go back to school. I was like,
Mhm,
I love teaching, but it was that connection when I went back to the classroom, I missed
mhm,
that emotional. I missed hearing their stories and getting to know them in a different way.
mhm, mhm. I think that there are so many ways to connect with people in particular, and so there's so many ways to connect in the helping profession. I think being a teacher is also part of the helping profession, and there's certain things that you get when you're working with children in that way that call for you to have some kind of understanding of their mental, emotional, spiritual health. And so I love that, and the parents as well.
Yes.
What is a lesson that you think is most important that you've been able to share with parents of the children that you taught, and even now the children that you see in the therapy world?
I think it's having that perspective, that systemic perspective of, a lot of times I knew as a teacher, parents didn't really understand what was going on in the classroom. And as teachers, we didn't really understand what was going on at home. So it's
Mhm.
really bridging that gap and just communication. And one of my favorite sayings that we learned in the teaching profession, and it comes from the mental health profession, is seek to understand before being understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we all just thought about understanding what is going on, I think we would have a little more compassion and empathy.
Wow. I love that. And I'm going to tell you something. What I love is how this profession sort of goes across so many other areas. So, for instance, today I did a training for the workers for the city of El Monte, and they were in all different areas. The HR department sponsored it, so she said she had over 500 employees that she's like the mama for, right? She's the umbrella. And some of the some of them were frontline workers. Some of them were parks and recreation workers. Others of them were working administratively. And we talked about how even in the most remote part of their work, it was important that they had good customer service skills because they always would come in contact in some way or another. We also talked about the fact that having those skills is important for even your coworkers. And I think sometimes that gets lost on us. The biggest lesson today that I pointed out was seek to understand. And I shared with them that that is the first thing that I tell couples when they come in to work with me. Because you come in, you have your own idea of what happened, how it happened, and whose fault it was. And you never take the time in your own house alone there with the two of you to consider what your partner may have experienced in the very same event. And so there's that, and then perception being reality, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Let's see if we can get Keitha back in here now.
There she is.
There she is. All right. Keith and I were
Um,
communicating behind the scenes. And so We got you up here. Thank you. Nice to see you,
Hello.
Miss Keitha.
You too. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So you've been a social worker. Is it 27 years?
No, I've been a social worker for 9 years, just
Okay.
27 years working with children.
Okay. What were you doing prior to becoming a social worker?
I worked at a nonprofit facility where kids lived from ages 6 to 14.
Okay. So like a group home type of thing?
Yes. And then my
Okay.
latter half, I did that for 16 years, and then I became a supervisor the latter half of that.
Okay. So what started you even way back then? What started you in working in that capacity with children and families like that?
Honestly, I'm the oldest of my siblings. And then it seemed whether it was church, school, any interactions, it was always with children. And so it became my passion because I saw that I worked well with them. And
Hmm.
so when I got to college, I originally decided I'm going to get a degree in psychology and I'm going to counsel because it seemed like even in friendships, it was like, okay, well, what do you think? And so that's what started it.
Okay, so you were like me. You were that friend that everybody called and said, "Girl,
Yes.
and then you give the advice, you empathize, you reflective
Yes.
listen, right? You
Yes.
actively listen, you do all those things, and you hang up, and nobody, no cha-ching, no cha-ching, no money. You're not
Right.
getting
Right.
paid for it, right?
Right.
So I understand that, and I saw you, Jennifer, nodding, so you can relate as well.
Very much so, yes.
Yes, and I think if we asked most of the therapists or people in the helping profession, that is the case. And
Yes.
now what happens is your friends say to you when you give them advice or you say something, "Stop therapizing me," and I'm like, "Listen, I was doing this long before." And I tell my friends now, and you can't even afford me, so stop. But it's true. I think that
Mhm.
people need to understand that we don't do certain things because we're therapists. We're therapists because we do certain things. So we see things a certain way. We see the world a certain way. We interact with people a certain way. And therefore, we chose or we allowed this profession to choose us. Because I think that's what happened with me. Would you all
Correct.
agree?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
So I always like to talk about how I met people, how people came into my life. And it's always pretty funny, usually. So let's start with you, Keitha. You and I, we have a very interesting sort of quote unquote chance meeting. So tell the Boss Talkers how we met.
In my current role, often as a social worker, often we have to do referrals, things like that. For example, if the judge says they're ordered parenting, drug treatment, and when they get in those services, you have to contact a provider to get a progress report. And so me and Sean Leray, she ended up being the therapist for a father that was on my caseload. Um, I had that case for a year, it closed. And so when I was looking for some place to intern, a friend of mine gave me her list, and she had reached out to Sean Leray herself and then ended up doing an intern closer to her home when she was in the program. And so when we talked to each other, it didn't connect for me. Her name, nothing connected for me. And it wasn't until it was time to fill out the paperwork and she was looking for it. And she said she typed my name in the email, and then she was like, Keitha, like we know each other. And I'm like, huh? And it still didn't register until she said the mutual client, and we both started laughing. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so for me, I felt like it was full circle because I was like, what are the odds that this is who I contacted to do my internship with? We can't hear you.
Back in.
Oh, I think you're muted,
We're
Sean.
all back together again. Yeah, so that is how we met, and I think that's hilarious because it just shows to me that things are just always meant to be,
Yes.
right? And so, Jennifer, let's talk about how you and I got together.
Yeah. So it's funny because one of the things that my school had always said is make sure you join your state's organization for marriage and family therapists. But not only that, make sure you join the local chapter. And it was funny because I did that. And it was a lot of the people in my class, my cohort are like, I don't have time for that. I can't do that. And boy, am I grateful. I took the time that I listened because I had started a internship and I wasn't getting the hours I needed to graduate. And so I was in a little bit of a panic mode when I met Sean LeRae at a local chapter, California Marriage and Family Therapy meeting. And she spoke, and I'm like, oh, she's the president of the San Fernando Valley chapter. She's probably super busy, but she might be able to point me in the right direction as to somebody who might be looking for an intern. And so I went up to her and I told her, and she's like, yeah, I'll take you. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, this is who I work for. This is who I am. I want you to take a look at the websites. And I want you to call me on Monday morning if you're interested. And this looks like something you'd like to be a part of. And I was like, bright and early Monday morning, I called her and I'm like, wait, you actually picked up. I'm like, so, and yeah, we've been together ever since. And
That's right.
So
and that meeting was on Sunday, y'all.
Yes.
And that's what I mean about going after what it is that you want. There doesn't need to be this hesitation. Sometimes you have to be led. Right? Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I love that you guys both of you are always in the office. You're coming in. I am super busy. I am running the nonprofit, the group practice, the this, the that, the other. And you guys come in, you're self-starters. You tell me what you need. We get it done. And I love that you can work on your own and that I still get to, help you when I can and pour into you guys and talk to you about your cases and all of that. Now, there's something about being in a smaller agency that differs from being in some of the agencies that you, especially Keitha, I'm sure, are accustomed to working with. You're in the biggest entity, DCFS, right? LA County. And those are bigger entities where the caseload is just overwhelming and all of that. WJB is a smaller entity. It's just getting started. I'm excited to have 9, count them, y'all, 9 interns. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 MSW interns who are being supervised now by my very first intern. Shout out to Coetta Columbell, who was my first intern in 2021. She's graduated, came to work for me, and now she is ready to get her license. She'll be testing soon, and she is now the clinical supervisor for the MSWs that come through my program. And so that is exciting for me. And the other day, Keitha had a meeting with her professor, and Coetta came on, and I was just like a beaming mommy listening to her share about Keitha. And it was such a beautiful full circle moment for me because I got to see her development and her growth. And that's what makes me excited to work with you guys. So Jennifer,
Yes.
you worked in schools. And what is the other practice? Is it a private practice or is it a larger concern? What is it?
It's a family agency. So it actually works with a lot of clients that Keitha works with. So it's a lot of court order DCFS cases.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very different.
Absolutely. And in my practice, we are offering low cost therapy to families, individuals who might not otherwise be able to afford therapy, as well as we do take insurance. But I love being able to offer that. But we get a variety of clients. We do get some who need court, reporting. Of course, with children, we often get families of divorce in the middle of divorce. We also work with victims of crime. So that's a big one. I don't think either of you have one of those clients right now, but
No.
have you been able in this time that you've been actually seeing clients or working and watching? Because Keitha, you're just getting started with the seeing the clients part, because Keitha has always been on the resource side of social work, and so she's been sitting in and observing clients and the interaction between the client and the therapist. But can you sort of think about what will be your favorite kind of client or your ideal client? Either of you.
I mean, with me, the easy thing would be kids, but the expanding thing, even though in my role I do work with parents and I have to make sure they have the resources. I think individual adults, because I work with teens, I work with children closely. And so I would still love to work with kids, but I think, having some adults, because that would help me exercise, further.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that you're not as familiar with, get to exercise that muscle.
Right.
And Jennifer, what about you?
It's funny because coming in as a middle school teacher, I was like, okay, I want to go with adolescents. I want to go with children and families. And I have to tell you, I have a wide variety. I've got, with you, I've got couples, I have individuals in their 20s. I do have adolescents. I'm open to it all. Like, I really like the variety of the dynamics. I like the individual being able to focus on them and help them grow and develop their strengths. But I love the couples and the families and watching them learn something new about each other or asking a question that makes somebody go, wait, I never thought of that way. So I love it all.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's, I know you were very excited when you got a couple last week. And that is probably my favorite work now. I do trauma work too, but now I'm trying to move into more of the non-traditional modalities that I've been studying as a trauma therapist, and it's not talk therapy, but brain spotting, becoming a psychotherapist. I'm doing a training on that because I have now started to understand more and more about the brain's function in everything, and the brain's function in trauma, and how we can sort of massage that brain and change the way that it operates. Also, people with ADHD and late stage ADHD, especially late diagnoses like myself, helping people to understand that you're not a mess. You don't have to be a mess, that there are ways to help your brain work in the way that your brain works. And it's not going to be working the same as someone who does not have a brain that has ADHD. I call it attention, what do I call it? Attention deficit hyperactivity deliciousness.
That's a good reframe.
Yes, absolutely. Because there is definitely there's an attention deficit. There are ways to train your brain to pay attention to what's important. There are the hyperactivity part. I tell people all the time, you will never meet another 65-year-old with as much energy as I have. That's not a bad thing. I'm going to need it, right? And so there are ways to tap into the things about whatever the disorder is, and I hate that word so much, whatever the issuation is, and find the tools that help people to move forward in those things, right? In spite of and not because of. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what is the scariest part of this work for each of you?
For me, it's just, the knowing that you hold a position of, no matter how you want to view it and no matter your therapy style, which, I'm very collaborative with my client. I do believe that they're the expert on their lives. I know the interventions, I know but they are the experts, but I still feel that there's this, am I going to say something that exerts too much power? Am I going to say something that takes away their autonomy?
Okay. Okay. We're going to come back to that. Keitha, what about you?
For me, I would say knowing that you are solely responsible for their healing process, like giving them those tools and maybe kind of sitting back and then thinking like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I don't help? Because of course there's that you can't help or change everybody. But I think that's what would make me maybe a little fearful that, when you think you have it all down and then it's like, this didn't work. I wasn't able to.
Well, get ready for it. But I am glad that you said that. And if I could do a little gentle challenging, it's not all your responsibility. Mm-hmm. When I start out meeting a client for the first time, I say, this is sort of it's a dual relationship. It's kind of, and not a dual relationship where it's I'm your therapist and I'm your best friend, not that kind of dual relationship, but it is that we have a relationship. We're in relationship for this therapeutic relationship to help you discover things about yourself that you may not have ever thought about. And as well, there's a contractual agreement, right? And so there's this relationship and then there's this contract. And what is that contract? That contract is that I'm going to provide you with tools and you're going to take the tools and apply them. So if you think of it that way, then all the onus is not on you.
Correct.
Hopefully, when people come to therapy, they are ready to change. That is hopefully, and that is all in that perfect world that doesn't exist. A lot of people come to therapy because they've been forced, because they've tried everything. There's a song, there's a Negro spiritual that says, when you've tried everything and everything has failed, try Jesus. And so we say yes, and a little bit of therapy too. Right. So a lot of people come to you expecting you to fix it. And so it's important that you say, you hold the keys. I'm going to teach you how to turn it. Right?
That's
or
good.
I'm going to tell you to choose the door and make sure it's a different door than the one that you've always been choosing and always been walking through into the darkness, and 3 steps in, there's a drop, right? Maybe choose a door that when you open it, there's a plethora of support and those kinds of things out there for you.
That's good.
So that's something to consider. I know we were doing your evaluation, and one of the things that you mentioned was that you are accustomed to having to be the resource, right? And to give the answers, and that you fear that that you're going to give them the answer rather than listen and see what they need. And that's a tough one, because when they come to you, you might know, and you have to ascertain whether or not they are ready for guidance to their answer.
I think since I've been like in school, learning to sit in the silence after you say something, because they do need to figure it out, because you want them to be a part, of their treatment, and you not, doing that. So I'm learning. And I think, to separate the two, because it is a different entity. Like I have to give an answer to a judge, and so we get to sit a little bit, but then it was like when that timeline comes, then I have to say, okay. And so sitting learning to sit in the silence because they have to be a part of their treatment.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing for me. It's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. Do you find that, Jennifer?
It's funny because I think being in a classroom and the way that I taught in my classroom is I asked a lot of open-ended questions because I didn't want to give the students answers. They were middle schoolers. I wanted them to learn to be thinkers. So I think that actually prepared me for being okay with silence. But still, sometimes I do catch myself going, well, don't you think that that person meant this? And I go, ooh, I should have let them come to that on their own. They'll agree with me. And that goes back to that's a big thing I've learned as a trainee is I really have to be careful because I don't want them to agree with me because they think I have the answers. I want them to agree because it's a revelation for them. It's something they haven't sat in that space and really thought about before. And now it's like, oh, wait a minute. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that sitting in silence was uncomfortable for me because I felt like somebody ought to say something by now, because I realized like that silence, 1 minute can feel like 25 minutes, and when you're sitting there. But what I recognize over time is it's so powerful. It's so powerful to just sit there, to drop a nugget and then let them sit in it and be like, whoa. Because a lot of times what we're not seeing is the wheels turning and the processing that is taking place and the trying it on to see if it fits and shake it around a little bit and see how it falls on them, right? If you think about it as a piece of clothing that they're putting on and trying on for the first time, there's this whole new way of thinking. And that I find is one of the biggest things, is shifting people's mindset.
Yeah.
To help them understand that there's just a different way. You don't have to do this. You don't have to keep bumping your head up against that wall, girl. So have you all had men clients?
Yes.
Okay. Do you find that there's a difference in how you're being in the room as opposed to when you're in the room with a female?
It depends on, I would say yes, because I have to think, again, one of the male clients that comes to mind, I have a male adolescent client, very high energy, very, just like, boom, boom. So I'm more active with him. Like we do more activities. We do, like, he needs to be doing something where, and then I have an adult male client, and he's also, he's more hesitant. He's more, trying to tap into emotions and feelings are a struggle with him. He wants to be like, everything's cool. I'm the king. I'm the this, I'm the that. And I don't know about for all men. So I'm just speaking to the ones that I've dealt with. And a lot of the women that I see as individuals are coming in with relationship distress or some kind of trauma. So I can only speak to, I handle someone who's going through trauma or a tough breakup much more gentle and much more, trying to help them find their voice again, find their strengths, and realize they can get through this. They just have to tap into those. Whereas with the men that I've dealt with, they're already, oh, I got it. I'm strong. I'm this, I'm this. So sometimes I have to help them rein it back a little bit and say, okay.
What does that really look like? Yeah, asking those questions. So Keitha, what about you?
I would say it depends on the journey that they're on, like where they are at in that journey, because it's a mix. It's either they're coming in taking control because they don't think you got it because you're a woman, or I've experienced I'm willing to do the work. Let me hear, what you think as far as, with the male client. So I've had both. And, then, with the women, I've actually had both with that as well, because it really depended on where they were at and what they had been through. on whether they was ready to, kind of like listen and partner with you, or they just wanted to take control. Because I've literally had somebody just sign off and say, I did that. No, like you have to do the work. So it's been a mixture.
Yes, yes. I think one of the things that you mentioned, Jennifer, is about the relationship thing, and the relationship world right now is so topsy turvy, particularly for some women. However, I sit in the room with men who find themselves in a similar dilemma than the women do. And I often think, boy, I should be a dating service. And I think I'm going to do that, honestly, because there are women who are crying about the men that they meet and how they don't want to commit and how they're this and that and the other. There are good men who are having the same thing. And it's particularly an issue in California, specifically, again, Los Angeles and the Los Angeles County, let's say. And I think that's because a large part of Los Angeles is inundated with those who come here from somewhere else looking for, stardom, all of that. There's so many beautiful people in Los Angeles. And so it's a very different dynamic I'm hearing from my clients than it is in other cities. What do y'all think about that?
It's interesting because, I told you just based on the clients I've been working with, but I am fortunate enough to have a group of males that I'm very good friends with. And I would say that very much their experience. I mean, these are very motivated men. These are men that are not afraid to show emotion, not afraid to be there. And they're feeling like, all right, am I ever going to find, I'm the one being used and abused, for lack of a better term. But so I agree with you. I think out here, when there's so much, it's Southern California, and the reason people come out is not always the purest. So it makes for difficulties in the dating world.
Yeah, it does.
There's an unrealistic expectation.
Yes.
When you don't live here, you come expecting sunshine and rainbows everywhere because it's California.
Everywhere, every day. Exactly. Yeah. And then you wake up like I did this morning and realize it rained all night. And it might rain again tomorrow. So there's that, that song is lovely, but it sometimes does rain in Southern California, right, y'all? Absolutely. Well, ladies, I want to ask you if you could two things. Before I go there, just briefly, what is something that you feel like you have gained in our time together that you didn't walk in the door with?
The journey, I would say, of doing this work, and how we talked about, when you experience things, to not take it personal, because it's a part of the journey, and having to understand that and then navigate through that, because it just comes with, the journey of being a
comes with the territory, kind of. Right. All right. Thank you, Jennifer.
And I would say for me, it's giving myself more grace and adding a little bit of flair. Like Sean LeRae, your personality, I always say people know after I've talked with you, because I'm just happy and beaming and just in this great mood, because you have this light and we're doing tough work. I mean, you're dealing with people going through some of the worst experiences, and you have this way of just lightening it and making that part okay. It doesn't have to be serious. It can throw a little bit of humor in there, and a little bit of personality, and still. So I've definitely given myself a lot more grace.
Very good to hear that. Thank you. Yes, good. Both of you, thank you for that. I always want to bring my own self and my own journey and my own experiences to this. And I love being able to help others coming into the profession find their voice and find their footing, so to speak, which is why we take on the trainees. So I always want to know what you're walking away with. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to point out that you both have shared with me that you are women of a certain age. And so you're not these teeny boppers coming out with a master's, walking in with no life experience, and no shade on those people. But part of the show promo said wisdom in action, wisdom in use. And so there are so many of you that may be out there who have thought about therapy as a career, and you're thinking it's too late. I've already, that ship has sailed. And so we're going to share, if the ladies are comfortable, we're going to share the age that we came into this and the age we are now. And just to encourage you all that you are vibrant with wisdom. And so bringing your vibrancy that's full of life and along with your wisdom to the table is a very sought after trait in this profession. This is the profession that you won't get kicked out of as you age, because you become even more valuable in the eyes of some people because you're like a sage. And so I went back to school to get my master's to become a therapist at 50 years old. I graduated at 52. I got licensed at 57, and I just turned 65 last month. So, school is school. The brain still works, and it works even better the more that you use it and challenge it and keep it oiled up. So if you're out there and you've been thinking about maybe this is something I should do, I've always been that person that my friends call. I've always been the one. Maybe it's time for you to consider this. So ladies, if you don't mind sharing when you started your journey, how old you are now, and then give us a little quick nugget that you want to leave the boss talkers with tonight.
Okay. I went back at 48. I will be graduating in June of this year, so I will be 51. And, yeah, absolutely. And I have to say that I was worried, exactly what you said. I'm like, I worked in the medical field, then I worked in the teaching field, and I'm like, okay, what am I thinking? I'm almost 50 going into a new career. And one of my friends said to me, 5 years from now, you're not going to be mad at yourself for getting your master's and for pursuing it. But 5 years from now, you could really be upset that you didn't do it. So, yeah, I thought that was a great thing. And I would just say, as far as a nugget, is just be open to everything during the experience. Because ironically, I used to say, I don't want to do couples. I have no interest in couples. I just want to do families and individuals and kids. And I am finding that I am really embracing couples work. So stay open and just be kind to yourself. Self-care. No matter what you're doing, do self-care throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely. Love it. All right.
I started this journey when I was 49, maybe 8 months from turning 50, and I toiled with it, prayed about it, switched directions. And then I finally kind of settled in on it. And I am now 51, and will be 52 when I'm done as well. And I would say, as it's been mentioned earlier, to give yourself a lot of grace, because we are always our own worst critics, no matter what happens. It's a moment in time, and it's a part of your journey. And you have to learn to give yourself grace, because will it matter when the next day or the next week comes? So I think it's very important with giving yourself grace and keep it moving.
I love that. Grace under fire. Yes, I love that. Well, thank you both for saying that. And you both mentioned giving grace is a part of what I like to talk about when it comes to self-care and taking care of oneself, putting oneself first. So, you cannot pour from an empty cup, right? And you cannot give what you don't have. And so one of the things that we've been working on is an event that's coming up soon that is called Take It Up a Notch. You may have heard me mention it. Take It Up a Notch, the series. And we are going to start with that foundation of self-care. So I want to share a little gift that I just got like seconds ago from my producer, and I'm so excited. I am so excited. Let's see here. Aha. So, do you all see that? Take It Up a Notch, a Living Loved and Boss Talk series. And it will take place at the Relax Spa and Beauty in Burbank. It is a wellness retreat, and we are so excited to have you all come and spend some time with us taking care of you, because that's what it's all about. That's where it all starts and ends. And so I like to think of it along the lines of, if you were going to build a house, you would start always with the foundation, and self-care is that foundation. And we're doing this as a series. We're going to start with that foundation. When you leave, what should have happened is that you have moved up a notch in whatever it is, in your self-care, in your relationships, in your communication, in your business, in writing that book you've been putting on the shelf, or acting like the pen is hidden, all those things. We want you to just come in wherever you are in the journey of what is your next step. And I say step because often we think that we have to have all the steps figured out. And all I'm saying is, come, start with your foundation, and let's build from there, making sure that you take care of yourself first. So thank you to Ms. Crystal Arte, who is my producer and who is co-producing this event with me. Thank you. Shout out to Ms. Tracy Lewis Trittler, who is the owner of the Relax Spa and Beauty and a dear friend as well. We are going to have, we're going to introduce at this event new practitioners in the area, and we just want to bring women together and share and lift one another up and walk away with some beautiful nuggets that you can use in practical ways. So I hope to see the two of you there. And Boss Talkers, stay tuned. This one, fellas, is only for the ladies, this part of this first series. But we'll be doing more, and we will invite our gentlemen friends in the future. So ladies, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I am so grateful to you for taking this time and sharing with the Boss Talkers and beyond. And remember to come back again. Those of you who tuned in today, Gareth and anybody else who's out there, we'd love to have you back and sign in and go ahead and subscribe and click that little bell on YouTube so that you'll know every time that we go live. And we go live every single Wednesday, well, just about every Wednesday at 6:00 p.m. on that Pacific Standard Time, 7:00 Mountain Time, 8:00 Central Time, and 9:00 on that East Coast. And do y'all like my theme song? Because we're going to let it play us out. So we'll see y'all back. So live loved and shalom, y'all. Peace.